A single father, drowning in debt and fighting to keep his daughter from foster care, drives home through a storm that mirrors his life, exhausted, desperate, and on the brink of losing everything. He spots a stranded woman beside a luxury car in the pouring rain. Every instinct screams to keep driving, but he stops. That one decision, one act of kindness might just change his life forever. Before we dive in, tell us in the comments, where in the world are you watching? The rain started falling just as Marcus stepped off the crowded bus, the kind of cold, steady rain that soaks through clothes before you even realize it. He pulled his thin jacket tighter around his body and adjusted the strap of his worn-out bag. Inside it were his lunch container, a few unpaid bills, and a crumpled drawing his daughter had slipped in that morning before school. 6-year-old Leela had drawn a picture of him, standing under a huge umbrella, smiling. "You're my hero, Daddy," she had whispered, her small arms around his neck. Marcus smiled at the memory, but it faded quickly as he looked at the dark street ahead. His life had become a long hallway of responsibilities, no pause, no doors, no rest. 3 years ago, his world had collapsed. His wife, Nora, had been killed in a road accident on a rainy evening not too different from this one. One call, one moment, one empty space that never filled again. After her death, Marcus had no time to grieve. Leela needed food, school needed fees, rent needed to be paid. Grief had to wait. Tonight, he had worked the extra hours unloading boxes at the warehouse. His hands burned. His shoulders felt like stone. All he wanted was to reach home, hug his daughter, and sit for 5 minutes without thinking. But life, as always, had other plans. As he walked past the old highway road, he noticed a car parked, oddly near the side, its hazard lights blinking through the rain. At first, he ignored it. Stranded cars were common here. Everyone had their own problems. But then he saw her, a woman, standing beside the car, drenched, trying to shield herself with an umbrella that was already broken. Her heels were muddy. Her phone was pressed to her ear again and again. But no one seemed to answer. Marcus slowed his steps. "Not my problem," he told himself. "I don't have time for this." He started walking again, but something pulled him back. Maybe it was the way her hands were shaking. Maybe it was the loneliness in the way she kept looking down the road, hoping for help that wasn't coming. He sighed and turned around. "Excuse me," he said, raising his voice above the rain. "Are you okay?" She looked startled, as if she hadn't expected anyone to notice her at all. My car broke down," she replied. Her voice was calm, but her eyes held exhaustion. "I tried calling for assistance, but there's no signal here." Marcus glanced at the road. It was almost empty. This area was known for slow response during bad weather. "I'm not a mechanic," he said honestly, "but I can take a look." He didn't notice how carefully she studied his face, or how different her gaze was from the usual people he met. She wasn't looking at his clothes. She wasn't judging his worn shoes. She was just watching him. He pressed the hood open and leaned in, pretending to understand more than he did. Among wires and steam, he shook his head, looked serious. Probably the engine overheated. Her lips pressed together. "Do you know any help nearby?" He thought of his own situation. The rent due, the empty fridge, the long walk home. "I live about 15 minutes from here," he said slowly. "It's not much, but you can wait there until the rain slows down." For a moment, he thought she'd refuse. Someone like her, elegant, composed, never belonged in his world of patched jackets and tired eyes. But she nodded. "Double quotes, thank you," she said quietly. They walked together through the rain. No names were exchanged. No questions were asked. As they reached his small apartment building, Marcus hesitated. His world was simple, small, broken in places. He didn't know that by opening his door that night, he wasn't just offering shelter from the rain. He was unknowingly stepping into the storm that would change his life forever. Inside Marcus's small apartment, the air smelled faintly of soap and leftover rice. The room was quiet except for the slow ticking of the old clock hanging near the door. He switched on the dim yellow bulb, and the light revealed a life of careful survival. A tiny kitchen corner, a worn-out sofa, and a wooden table with chipped edges. "Please, have a seat," Marcus said, placing the old umbrella near the door. The woman nodded and stepped inside. Her eyes scanned the room, not with judgment, but with a quiet curiosity, like someone stepping into a story rather than a house. "It's humble," he added, Almost apologetically, "It's peaceful," she replied. Before he could respond, a small voice echoed from the other room. "Daddy?" Leela appeared at the doorway, her little frame wrapped in an oversized sweater, her messy curls tied with a loose ribbon. Her eyes instantly noticed the stranger. Marcus froze for a second. He hadn't planned on this. He hadn't told her about the woman. "This is just someone who needed help," he said softly, kneeling down near her. "She'll leave when the rain stops." Leela nodded slowly, then looked up at the woman. "Are you a lost traveler?" The woman blinked, unexpectedly smiling at the innocence of the question. "I think I am," she answered. Gently, Leela walked closer and held out her small toy, a tiny plastic car missing one wheel. "This one broke too," she said seriously, "but Daddy fixed it using tape and love." Marcus let out a quiet laugh, embarrassed. The woman's smile faded into something deeper, something unreadable. "You fixed it with love," she repeated. "That's how Daddy fixes everything," Leela replied proudly. Marcus turned away, pretending to adjust the kettle. But her words hit him harder than he wanted to admit. He poured some hot water into 2 chip cups and offered one to the woman. "I don't have tea bags today," he said, "but warm water helps in the cold too." She accepted it with both hands. "Thank you." Again, a silence filled the room, but not an awkward one. It was slow, heavy, thoughtful. "You didn't have to stop," she finally said. "Most people just pass by when they see trouble." Marcus shrugged. "I almost did." "What changed your mind?" He thought for a moment. "I don't know. Maybe I know how it feels when the whole world keeps moving. You're just standing there, hoping someone will look back." She lowered her gaze at that dot outside. The rain grew louder, tapping against the windows like restless fingers. "How long have you been on your own?" she asked quietly. "Since Leela was 3, he replied. "Her mother passed. After that, it was just learning life from scratch again." "I'm sorry," she whispered. Marcus didn't answer. He didn't like sympathy. He liked survival. From his pocket, a small folded paper slipped onto the floor. The woman looked down and picked it up. It was Lila's drawing, the one with him standing under an umbrella. Inside the picture, below his clumsy stick figure body, were written the words, "My daddy saves people even when he is tired." The woman's hand trembled slightly as she read it. "You didn't just help me today," she said slowly. "You don't even realize who else you help every single day." Marcus frowned. "What do you mean?" She looked at him for a long second, a look filled with quiet meaning. But before she could answer, his phone buzzed on the table. A message notification flashed across the screen. "Court reminder. Your hearing has been scheduled for Monday morning." Marcus's face drained of color. He locked his phone immediately. But she had already seen it. "Hearing?" she asked calmly. He forced a small smile. "Just a misunderstanding," he said. "Nothing worth worrying about." But deep down, worry had already taken root. Because he wasn't just a tired father anymore. He was a man standing on the edge of a decision that could take everything from him. The night grew quieter, but Marcus's thoughts grew louder. Leela had fallen asleep on the small mattress in the corner, her tiny chest rising and falling in slow, peaceful rhythm. Her school bag rested beside her like a guard, filled with cheap notebooks, half-used pencils, and dreams too big for such a small room. Marcus watched her for a moment, then turned back toward the woman. She was seated near the table, her cup long forgotten, her fingers gently tracing the cracked wood like she was memorizing every detail. "You don't have to stay awake," he said. "It's late. You can rest on the sofa. I'll take the floor." She looked up slowly. "You always put others first," she replied. He gave a tired smile. "Someone has to." Silence returned. A strange stillness filled the apartment. Not empty, not uncomfortable, just meaningful. Finally, she spoke again. "You said your hearing is on Monday." Marcus stiffened. "I shouldn't have let you see that," he said quietly. "I'm not asking out of curiosity," she replied. "I'm asking out of respect." He exhaled, leaning back against the wall. "I worked as a security supervisor at a private firm before I started this warehouse job," he said. "One night, there was a robbery. The company blamed me, said I failed to act on time, said they lost money because of me." "And did you?" she asked gently. "No," he answered without hesitation. "I risked my life saving a coworker who was trapped during the chaos. But that didn't matter to them. Their money mattered more than a human being. So you left. They removed me." He looked away. "And now they want to make it look like I'm guilty of negligence." Her expression darkened. You could lose everything? She asked. Marcus nodded. If the judge believes them, I might lose my job, compensation. Even custody issues could start if they push enough. She tightened her fingers around her cup. And you're still offering your roof to strangers on rainy nights, she murmured. He gave a tired chuckle. I guess kindness is the only thing they haven't taken away yet. The wind howled outside the window. Then suddenly, her phone vibrated. She didn't look at it. It buzzed again. Marcus noticed it. Your help, he asked. She finally glanced down at the screen. A name flashed. Assistant Daniel. She turned the phone face down. You didn't call them back? He asked. No, she replied. I wanted to understand where I really was. And now? She looked up at him again, deeply. Now I understand. A pause. Understand what? That sometimes the strongest people live in the smallest spaces, she said. Marcus shook his head slightly. You talk like someone who's seen too much, or someone who needs to see more, she answered. Outside, the rain had softened into drizzle. I should go check on my car tomorrow morning, she continued. I don't want to be a burden. You're not, he said immediately. Rain doesn't choose who it falls on. Her lips curved faintly upward. Neither does life, she replied. She stood slowly, walking closer toward the door, then paused. Marcus, he froze. Yes? You never told me your name, he said. She turned back toward him. I know, she answered quietly. I just wanted to know who you were before I introduced who I am. His heartbeat slowed. And who are you? He finally asked. She took a step closer, her voice calm, but strong. Someone who will be sitting very close to your fate on Monday morning. Marcus's smile faded. What do you mean? She didn't answer. She simply picked up her bag, glanced once more at the sleeping child, and walked out into the lingering rain, leaving a silence behind that felt heavier than thunder. Monday arrived before Marcus was ready for it. The morning air felt heavier than usual, like even the sky knew what was waiting for him. He adjusted the collar of his only decent shirt, the one he saved for important days, and forced a calm expression as Leela clung to his leg. Daddy, you'll come back, right? She asked softly. He knelt down, brushing her curls away from her face. Of course, he smiled. And I'll bring you the chocolate biscuit you like. Her eyes brightened instantly. Promise? Promise. He stood up, grabbed his worn bag, and stepped out into the same world that had never once slowed down for him. The courtroom smelled of polished wood and quiet tension. People spoke in hushed voices. Papers rustled. Shoes tapped nervously against the floor. Marcus sat alone. No lawyer. No supporters. Just him and the truth. The door behind the judge's seat opened. Everyone stood. He raised his eyes, and his heart almost stopped. It was her. The woman from the rain. She was no longer drenched, no longer carrying that broken umbrella. She wore a dark robe now, her posture straight. Her presence commanded the entire room. Without a single word, she caught his look. Her expression was calm. Formal. Controlled. But her eyes, they hadn't changed. He slowly sat back down, his mind racing. So this is what she meant. Court is now in session, the clerk announced. As the case began, the company's lawyer spoke confidently, throwing accusations like stones, negligence, irresponsibility, failure of duty. Marcus listened quietly. He didn't interrupt. He didn't defend himself with anger. He simply waited. When his turn came, the judge looked down at him. Marcus Reed, she said once more, as if tasting his name. You're being accused of professional negligence during a robbery incident. Have you anything to say? Marcus stood up. My lord, he said respectfully, I didn't ignore protocol that night. I ignored fear, because someone was screaming for help. I chose a life over a policy. The courtroom fell silent. And do you have proof? The lawyer smirked. Marcus lowered his eyes. No, he replied honestly, because the cameras weren't working, and the company never fixed them. I don't have power. I don't have money. I only have what I remember. A pause. The judge looked at him closely, not as a judge, but as someone who had once sat on his broken sofa, holding a chipped cup of warm water. I see, she said calmly. She turned to the lawyer. Did your company ever document the camera malfunction? The lawyer hesitated. Your Honor, those records are. Answer the question. She interrupted. A long silence. He cleared his throat. They were postponed for upgrades. She raised her brow slightly. So your company, new security was compromised that night, she said, and yet blamed an employee who chose to protect human life over broken equipment. The lawyer's expression stiffened. A murmur spread across the room. The judge tapped her pen once. Interesting. She flipped through the file in front of her, as if she hadn't read it 100 times already. Then she looked up again. Marcus Reed, do you remember when you told me that kindness is the only thing they couldn't take away from you? His breath caught. Yes, he whispered. A small pause passed through the courtroom. People shifted, confused. She straightened in her seat. Court's final decision, she announced. Her voice clear. Marcus held his breath. This case is dismissed due to insufficient evidence and corporate negligence. A second of silence. Then light. Then whispers. Then reality. Marcus's world blurred. You are free to go, she added. He slowly stood. His hands trembled. He didn't rush. He just walked out, step by step, like someone learning how to breathe again. Outside, the sky wasn't raining. Instead, sunlight had broken through. He heard footsteps behind him. He turned. It was her. Not the judge, not the authority, just the woman from the storm. You knew, he said quietly. Yes, she replied. Why didn't you tell me? Because I wanted to see the man you were before knowing the man you could become, she replied gently. Marcus looked down. Thank you, he said. She smiled softly. Don't thank me, she answered. Thank the man who opened his door to a stranger without knowing who she was. Just then, his phone buzzed. A message from Lila's school. Lila is waiting at the gate. She told everyone her superhero had court today. Marcus laughed under his breath. He looked back at her. My real judge is 6 years old. He smiled. And what would she say about you? She asked. He turned toward the sunlight. She'd say, I just helped someone in the rain. As he walked away, the world felt different. Not because life became easy, but because one small act of kindness had finally come back home.